behind the scenes at SKOR North and 1500 ESPN have sports opinions. So they want you to hear them. It's the perfect digital sports soapbox to scratch that Minnesota sports itch. This is the SKOR North Taxi Squad.
So you're saying there's a chance that the Minnesota Vikings will make the playoffs? But if we're being honest with ourselves, maybe it'd be best if they didn't make them whatsoever and focus on the 2024 draft. Welcome into the SKOR North Taxi Squad, everyone. You can find us on the SKOR North, the YouTube channel, SKORNorth.com, the SKOR North mobile app, and Apple and Spotify. My name is Jason Stormer, along with Artis Woods and AJ Fredrickson. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for joining us here as we kick off 2024. But unfortunately, our Minnesota Vikings couldn't ring in the new year in a positive way whatsoever after getting absolutely obliterated by the Green Bay Packers 33-10. But gentlemen, hopefully you guys are ringing in the new year on a positive note. How are you feeling now that the calendar has flipped to the year 2024?
Feeling okay, man. Feeling my bad, AJ.
You're good.
Right on in.
AJ was ready.
You're good. No, you're
bad,
fine. We're all good. We're all good.
Wait, AJ, no.
No, I love the enthusiasm. Both of you are just ready to kick off the new year, just ready with your hot takes. This is great.
Yeah, man. I love the new year because it's a fresh start. You know, it's an opportunity to get the mind right. You know, get in the right spirit. You know what I mean? And start the year off right. Start the new year off right, especially if last year wasn't the best year or the last couple years haven't been the best years. This is an opportunity to start fresh, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's how I'm walking into it and feeling pretty good, man. Feeling really upbeat. Obviously, we'll get into some football stuff that doesn't have me feeling as upbeat. Actually has me quite annoyed. But that's life. That's life. Happy New Year, everyone. That's football. Hey, that's sports for you. So it is what it is.
Yeah, after this last Sunday's game, I think I tweeted something along the lines of like, the good news, we don't have to deal with any more Vikings football until next year. The bad news is next year is in about 83 minutes. It was about an hour and a half away at that time. So, but 2024, hopefully good things come for the Vikings, for Minnesota sports, for the Taxi Squad, for SKOR North, all that stuff. Things are hopefully on the up. And, it was a nice we're back, just like the bye week. We took a week off. Holiday week, we had to take a week off. A little rejuvenation. I'm feeling energized once again, ready to talk some sports with both you guys. And I wish the Vikings gave us a little higher spirits to talk about. But hey, we wheel, we deal, we seal. That doesn't make any sense, but it rhymes.
Okay.
All rhymes.
We rock with it.
No, I was actually going to say AJ's probably riding really high considering the announcement of the 2026 World Juniors coming here to the Twin Cities and everything like that. Quick side tangent before we get into football. But that's a huge tournament. That's always a big thing this time of year. But I know that's what AJ's thinking about the most right now.
Artists, are you familiar with the World Junior Championships whatsoever or no?
Not really.
Essentially, December 26th, every year, December 26th through about the first week of January. So it's about a 2-week stretch.
Mm-hmm.
The best non-professional under 18 players in the world for hockey come together, represent their country. This year they're in Sweden, and they play a tournament, and it is some of the best. It is my favorite because it's if you like March Madness, it's like that. It's pure chaos. It's young. It's the future of the NHL on display for the world to see. And you just get some of these teams putting up amazing. Czechia has been amazing this tournament. They actually knocked out Canada in the first round of the elimination play. USA looks like a wagon. Expect them to maybe take it all the way. They're going to have a tough matchup here in round 2, though. However, after their first quarterfinal win against Latvia. But yeah, it's so much fun. And there has been a waiting for me and probably the Minnesota hockey community for this tournament to come to Minnesota. 2026 is that year. So I don't want it. Make your plans now. If you have to contact me around that time, holiday season 2026, I will not be available. I will be at the rink, painted in red, white, and blue, cheering my butt off for the US of A. Let's go. I'm so pumped.
Let's go.
I like it.
Let's go. Yeah, I'm pumped about it too. It's a huge tournament. And yeah, obviously it shows you kind of the state of what the Minnesota Vikings are in right now as the season's wrapping up. If we're leading off the show with that. But it'll be a fun tournament for everybody here in the Twin Cities. We've been waiting for it for a long time. But guys, yeah, it's We can't say it's over for the Minnesota Vikings, but it's pretty much over. There's going to have to be a whole hell of a lot that's going to have to happen for this team to make the playoffs at this point after getting absolutely destroyed by the Green Bay Packers at home. A very, very, very disappointing loss for a bunch of reasons. Obviously, because it really dashed any chance you had of going to the playoffs. It's never fun losing the Packers at home in any capacity, especially on New Year's Eve. That's not fun. But it also took the wind out of pretty much any sail that maybe Jaren Hall could be, a quality starting caliber quarterback, at least this season, maybe going in next season. And he was pretty bad. He got pulled after the half and Nick Mullins relieved him. And actually Nick Mullins played pretty decent, and Nick Mullins will be starting for the Vikings in Detroit in the regular season finale. But yeah, guys, just how are you feeling about this team? Sure, they're not technically done yet, but at this point, I feel like all the hope has pretty much gone for all Vikings fans. Everybody's pretty much looking towards 2024 at this point, looking towards who we could potentially draft at quarterback, by the way. I know that everybody is losing their minds after that performance that Michael Penix Jr. had for the Washington Huskies beating Texas in the Sugar Bowl. But I don't know, guys. Do you still have a little bit of hope left? Do you think maybe some way, somehow, the teams above the Vikings in the NFCs lose this upcoming Sunday and they back their way into the playoffs with an 8-9 record or something like that? Or do you think it's just time to, maybe close this book that is the 2024 season and start writing the next book that is 2024? Sorry, I got that wrong. Anyway, go ahead. I
like to tell myself and pride myself on being somebody that is, as a fan, first and foremost, if the team that I'm cheering for still has the slimmest of chances to make the playoffs, I will root for them to win. However, this team, I think, has shown me that even if they were to have that miracle come through, they get a win, everything goes their way, and they squeeze in, they're going to immediately get slaughtered. They just don't have the quarterback ability. We've seen them now run through 3 separate guys. Each of these guys have shown a very small flash of being good, but it has been outweighed heavily, so heavily by the visuals of poor passing, floating passes that either float right into the hands of defensive backs, over the arms of the receiver. You sit in the pocket and then you get taken down in mid-fall. You're going to throw it and essentially hand it off to a lineman of the other team. It's I'm still going to say that I would like them to win this Sunday, but I'm not going to be upset when they lose, because they're not.
Prediction spoiler for later. Come on.
They've just given me no hope. There's nothing to look at this season and think, or like this season and say, they're going to rally this Sunday. They're going to defy the odds and they're going to go on this run. That being said, I saw somebody do a little football math, a little Minnesota math, if you will. Started the season 1-4, won 5 in a row, have since then gone 1-4. Can you imagine the next 5 games? Super Bowl? It would be too good to be
I said
true.
At the top of the show, there's a chance.
You get in advance. Everybody has a shot.
Everybody has a shot.
I hate that saying, by the way. It's so cliche for all these fringe playoff teams. If you just get in.
And honestly, this is more of a genuine question. When is the last time like a team like that looks bad and they just click right at the end of the season? They get in and they scrape into the wild card, and now they go on this unbelievable run and they defy the odds and they beat the powerhouses and the juggernauts and the contenders and the front runners.
The only team I can think of is the Giants.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Or when the Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010 with Aaron Rodgers, because they were a 6th seed.
And then the next
with who? Probably, with Aaron Rodgers, exactly.
With Aaron Rodgers, yes. The key, and the key with that statement is 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks leading.
Yes, exactly.
And the next closest is probably the Ravens, I think 2012, but they won their division.
And that's sure. Too, and that's a division winner. Sure, you can have bad division winners in the NFL, and this year I would say you've seen more parity in this league than we've seen in a long time. There is the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme for sure. But then that 5 through arguably 12, the gap is not that big. However, I don't think the Vikings fall within that top 5 through 12 by any means. I think if they were to get in, those teams are going to look like Goliaths against a David, which is dressed in a Vikings headwear. So I don't have too much hope regarding this Sunday. Would it be in their best interest to lose? Yes. But just because there is technically a sliver of hope that they can make the playoffs, I have to almost force myself, and I'm not proud of it, to say rah, 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 VIKINGS.
Skol! Bum,
So,
bum,
yeah.
skol!
It's going to be a painful Sunday either way, because you either watch them lose, and hey, then you're hoping for, I think they can jump up as high in the draft as 9th, which would be massive, or they win and things don't go their way, and you're like, well, what the heck was that for? And then they fall, I think, as low as I think 12th is the lowest they can go, which is where they're at now. Which is not bad, but it's just also not great given how this draft looks. And then they win and they get in, and it's like, oh my God, they had a chance. We're gonna, and then they lose. You know, if this team had Kirk Cousins, we'd be having a different story. But it's not the story we're reading this year. So.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaways are, where has the defense been these last couple weeks?
Thank you.
Where has the defense been? This defense that we've raved about for weeks on end. It's been one of the best defenses in the league for, I'd say, a vast majority of the year. They've had some really great games. They pitched a shutout one game, and the last 2 weeks, both games at home, if I'm not mistaken, 30 points against Detroit, 33 against the Green Bay Packers. These are division rivals. These are rivalry games. You're giving up 30-plus points in both football games. Again, where's the defense? I think that's the biggest issue that I personally have, and where I lose all faith personally, because one thing I felt like I can hang my hat on with the Minnesota Vikings is they're going to play defense. They're going to limit you to a certain amount of points. Yes, they have, backup quarterbacks in. Yes, they have guys in that, aren't proven, XYZ. They might throw some interceptions. They might fumble. They might have some turnovers here and there. Things might not go right on offense, but that defense is going to keep them in the game. And in these last two games, the defense has not stepped up and made plays. Now, the game against the Lions that we didn't have a chance to really talk about. They had an opportunity at the end until Nick Mullins at the end of the game. You had Justin Jefferson cutting wide open pretty much towards I think it was kind of front of the end zone. Was it front or kind of mid? Somewhere in there. But he was open. He was about to be open. And I feel like he threw the ball a little too soon, threw it behind him, and ended up being an interception. And that kind of swayed a lot in the NFC. And then obviously you had the Lions and the Cowboys game that also swayed a lot in the NFC. Conversation for another day. Maybe today. Who knows if we get into it. But all in all, when it comes to the Vikings, at this point, what can you say? I applaud the fact that you lost Kirk Cousins. You lost Justin Jefferson for a large part of the season. You gave it your best shot. You went on a bit of a run. You had an opportunity, but you kind of folded towards the end. Jaren Hall, did I miss something? Did Jaren Hall get hurt at halftime?
No, they just pulled him.
So
they just flat out pulled him.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like his performance, or they got pulled?
I didn't like either, but I didn't like the fact that they pulled him.
Okay. Should have kept him in. Yeah.
Truthfully, you're down 23-3. Are you putting Nick Mullins in, the guy who just threw 4 interceptions the week before? Are you putting him in for a spark for the offense? Like, are you putting him in hopes that you're going to come back and win the football game? Like, what was the point? If you wasn't going to start Jaren Hall for the whole game, why start him at all? Like, that's the part for me that ultimately is frustrating, because yes, I expected him to play a little bit better, but I knew there will be some rookie jitters. Technically it's your second start, but really your first start, because you got hurt, first possession of the first game you played. And so, yeah, you're going to have some, you're going to have a turnover here and there. You're going to have some overthrows. You're going to have some underthrows. You're going to have some decent moments. You're going to have some bad moments. But allow the kid to go through the growing pains. The game's over. It's 23-3. The game is over. Let him continue to play. Go through the growing pains. Hey, this is a learning experience. Start him next week, too. It's a learning experience at this point. Nick Mullins is not going to play better. He threw 4 picks the game before. 4. That was the frustrating part for me. Again, he didn't play great, but like I said before, the whole point of this was not so that he can get out there and play amazing. And oh my gosh, he's going to save the season. The point is to see what you have. What this did, though, it tells me that they saw something in camp or they saw something in practice. They decided we're gonna give it a shot, and then they saw what they felt like they needed to see, and they pulled them again. But I mean, again, you gave Nick Mullins a longer string. You gave Dobbs all types of opportunities. Yes, they both had decent games, but both of them had worse halves than Jaren Hall had. So it's like that's where my frustration came in. Ultimately, they lost the game. We knew how it was gonna go, but I wouldn't have pulled Jaren Hall. I would have let him finish the game. And with the season pretty much being over, pretty much you would assume, right? Kind of. Maybe it's not, but you would assume. But yes. I would start him again next week.
Why is the tone changing so quickly where you're giving a long leash to Josh Dobbs and you decide to stick with him after the bye, but then Jaren Hall gets the yank at halftime? That's halftime. That's my confusion there.
Yeah.
Because I understand KOC's reason. It was like, other teams have given up on him. And granted, he had won them games. He came in against Atlanta and he kind of wowed me. We saw him have sparks. So I guess there's that argument, but just like Artis just said, it's a rookie. There's going to be stuff. And granted, I mean, did the O-line protect him super well?
No.
You could make the argument either turnover that he had was his fault. The interception was a little behind the tight end. I give him that.
That was a bad ball.
But it's a bad, but it hits your hands. It's a pass you're supposed to catch, bro. It was behind you. It was. I hear.
That's the rule.
But you catch that ball.
I hear you.
I
agree with the first one.
See, I wasn't too mad that he got pulled because, frankly, the play that sticks out in my mind for the whole game with Jaren Hall was that throw over the middle that completely fluttered. It just looked like it came out of his hand wrong. It didn't get tipped at the line of scrimmage. It just looked like it just slipped out of his hand or something, and it was not a professional pass whatsoever. There was no wide receiver around anyway either. It was a terrible pass, and so I'm guessing the reasoning for KOC and the coaching staff to make the switch was because I guess you can make the argument that Nick Mullins took over for Josh Dobbs in the Raiders game and was able to lead the Vikings to a victory, even though I don't think any serious Vikings fan really considers that 3-0 win against the Raiders like a pinnacle victory of the Vikings season or anything like that. So I'm guessing that was the reasoning behind it. I also know there's been so much made over the last several years now about the mental conditioning of rookie quarterbacks and just how quickly people think that they can get quote unquote ruined or whatever. And so I could definitely see another angle that the coaching staff had was, well, even if we could give Jaren Hall an opportunity to rebound from this, we only seeing it getting worse for him. So then what's the point in leaving him in there if it ultimately is only going to keep doing more damage to Jaren Hall's development, which I am in the camp of nah, I mean, good NFL players need to know how to rebound from bad performances, even if it's just for a half. So I'm in the camp as well. I probably would have left him in to continue to see what we got, especially because we were already down so much to the Packers. We weren't putting up a comeback. Go ahead, Artis.
To a competitor, it's worse to pull him at halftime than it is to leave him out there and try to figure it out. It's worse to get benched. First NFL, I believe so. My first NFL start, I have a good drive. I get knocked out with a concussion. My second NFL start, I come in the first half. I throw an interception. What was it? His second pass of the game or something along those lines. Second or third pass. I throw an interception, bad ball. Maybe should have been caught, but I could have threw it better. I have, there's a strip sack that occurs. I go into halftime, maybe still with the mindset of all right, this is ugly, but let's just see if I can have a better second half. We've seen crazy things happen in the NFL. This is the Green Bay Packers. Their record isn't, 14-0 or 15-0. And, this defense isn't top 5. You know what I mean? Jordan Love is another young guy that's still learning. Anything could happen. Maybe we can come back. I still got JJ. I still got, Jordan Addison. I still have, really good pieces. Maybe I could figure it out. And then you go into halftime and coach is like, nah, Mullins is going out there. I think that does your psyche even worse if you're a competitor, which again, that goes back to why would you draft a guy that's not a competitor? That's how you would want him to think. I want to play. Yeah, I'm not having a great game, but I still want to play. I still want to learn and have an opportunity, to bounce back and have a better second half. I just think that
I mean,
personally, and I know what you're talking about on the ball that fluttered. It was a terrible.
It was
throw.
the worst pass I throw
throw.
out of any pass I've seen from a Vikings quarterback this season, and I've seen 4 of them throw passes this year. It was the worst, even worse than any interception I've seen. It was just I have no idea what Jaron was doing on that play or what happened. I don't know.
I see,
and then again, stuff like that happens. I'm not gonna
passes.
Oh
though.
yeah, no, yeah. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot.
Dobbs has thrown some bad passes too. None that bad. I will give you. I don't remember a pass that bad.
Yeah.
But Nick Mullen, bruh.
Admittedly, I'm giving him more crap than I probably should, just because it looked so bad. It looked like a butterfly. It was horrible looking. It looked like Tim Tebow with the Broncos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was a terrible pass.
I don't know why I just did a drive-by at Tim Tebow right there. He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
Yes, he's a wonderful humanitarian.
Person. Yes.
So.
But yeah.
But I mean, back in 2024.
right. But I still in the moment I was just like, when he didn't come out, I was just like, I just felt like, what's the point? If what you're saying, Jason, is accurate and that's the thought process, even though I disagree, I could understand it a bit. But if your thought process was, I'm putting Nick Mullins back in the game because we could come back and win with Nick Mullins and we could go. I just think that's just come on, let the kid play, learn from his mistakes. You'll have a decent idea, I guess, in a 2-game sample size of what you have. And again, there's no way you leave these other guys out there, for extended games, full games, but then you don't leave the quarterback that you drafted this guy, by the way.
Right.
You drafted him.
Yep.
It ain't like, we just had to pick him up. No, you drafted the guy. So, give the guy that you drafted an opportunity to play a full game.
The other possibility is just that this coaching staff just doesn't think he has it. That they gave him his shot.
Man.
That circumstances prevailed to let him play in the Atlanta game. Circumstances prevailed to let him play in this game, and they just didn't like what they had to see. That's a possibility. I don't really know. I'd like to think that the organization is going to give a player that they drafted in the 5th round pick, right? A 5th round pick.
It was late.
They're not going to give up on him yet or anything. And I don't think that's the case, but we just have to keep that possibility open that this coaching staff just doesn't think Jaron Hall has it. And based off what he did in that game, I mean, we definitely can't roll forward with him probably starting in the next game. Probably not. Even though there definitely is an argument to be made that, all right, let's continue to see what we got with Jaron Hall. But I think this coaching staff just doesn't want to put him in a position where he could fail even more and throw off his psyche, which, again, might come back to that is NFL players got to be mentally tough no matter what. So maybe just throw them in the fire like Rack, Shack, and Abendigo or something and see if they come out unscathed. I don't really know. I don't really know, but either way, it's just
can I veer left just a touch?
But sure, why not?
So you guys think if the Lions beat Dallas, if they would have beat Dallas,
they did beat Dallas, Artis. The Lions did beat Dallas in spirit. In spirit.
So you think
maybe not
Dallas,
technically, but
yes, but Decker checked in. Yeah.
Do you think if they beat those guys in reality, right, it actually counted as a win, that the Lions would rest their starters this last week of the season and the Vikings will have a better chance at winning this game?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so this is kind of on point. Dude, I know. This impacted you more than anybody else. I just don't understand how professional referees can make such an error in such a game that affects so many different teams, not only the teams that are on the field, but the rest of the NFC. I don't understand. The explanation that we got was this same guy was checking in the whole time. So I just assume, I'm paraphrasing because this wasn't the words used, but I assumed essentially that the same guy that's been checking in and out is the guy that's going to check in and out on this last play. So I literally ignored the other 2 linemen standing directly in my face for the guy running off the sideline 10 yards away and said, that guy's checking in, and ignored the 2 guys in front of me, and then had the nerve, the audacity to throw a flag to potentially cost the Detroit Lions the football game against the Dallas Cowboys, which affects the Cowboys, affects the Vikings, affects Philadelphia, affects the whole NFC. I just think that was one of the worst things I've ever seen in professional sports. I'm not going to lie. I think that was one of the worst referee botches I've ever seen in professional sports. It goes along with a whole lot of conspiracy theories that I have that I will not get into. I just will not get into, but I just thought that was egregious. I also think Dan Campbell, my guy.
Oh. Is he going to do that in the playoffs?
They call a flag. It's a bad flag. They cheating you, bruh. They cheating you, right? But what do? Instead of kicking the extra point, I'm going to try to go for it again from the 8-yard line.
Is he going to do it in the playoffs?
And that's why they will go home. That's why they will go. I'm going to go for it again from the 8-yard line. I'm going to try to go for 2 when I could kick the extra point and take this into overtime. No, I'm going to go for 2 again. And then Michael Parsons jumps off sides. Oh, my gosh, Michael Parsons jumped off sides. This is another opportunity to kick the extra point. Nope. I'm going to try to go for it again for a 3rd time. Dude.
Man, Campbell.
Side story, I was at a restaurant with my lady celebrating, New Year's, getting ready to go into a new year. And I'm sitting there eating. We're having a good time. And I was like, I really want to, because she's become a big sports fan, too, because of me. I'm like, let's watch this game off to the side. Just put it here. We're going to watch the ending, right? And the 3rd time he was about to go for 2, I literally almost flipped the table. I almost flipped. We had to leave. Let's just put it like, we had to go. We had to go. We had to leave. Ruined the night.
Oh my God. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, Artis is not a Lions or a Cowboys fan. He is an Eagles fan. But that's how much that play affected everything in the NFC. And here's the wild thing. That same officiating crew will be officiating the Ravens-Steelers game this upcoming Saturday, a game that has playoff implications. Why that crew is not officiating like the Jets-Patriots game, which has no implications whatsoever, I have no idea.
If players come out and perfect example, if a player has a hit on the field or, he comes out in the media, he refuses to speak to the media, or, he says a swear word in the middle of a press conference, or he does anything along those lines. I mean, we seeing players get fined for anything these days. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a football play. I'm going to fine you $12,000 for making a football play while playing football. But a referee who does something like this gets no real punishment. There's just move on to the next game. How does that work? You directly affected lives here, okay? You affected lives, okay? Lives, all right? There are people who watch the game that are affected. There are the players on the field, the coaches.
The people who gambled on it.
The people who had some bets on the line.
Some scratch.
On the line. Wow. Wow. Like, that's all I got to say. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Detroit. But we hadn't had a chance to talk about that, and Grant, our coworker, brought it up, and it refreshed my memory. And it's something that I had to bring to this podcast because that quite literally, is one of the worst, if not the worst, referee botch I've ever seen in my life.
Did they secretly switch out all of our regular refs with the replacement refs that we had 10 years ago? Because honestly, remember how horrible the officiating was back then. It's just slowly but surely gotten worse and worse over the last decade ever since that happened. I don't know what the NFL's got to do to have better.
Campbell is so aggressive for no reason.
Oh, man. I'm loving it, though. If he's going to do something crazy in the playoffs, even if it's not that exact scenario. He's going to fake a punt. He's going to do something in that first game no matter what. And because that's their style. That's their style.
On the matchup, I guarantee you, if they play a team I think they're matched up right now to play the Rams. Vikings fans, if they play the Rams and the game is tight and Dan Campbell gets overly aggressive, you will see your division rival go home. I promise you. I guarantee it. They will go home.
That'd be fun,
they
though.
Will go Stafford, if he does not coach a smart game, they will go home.
That'd be a fun matchup, though. Stafford going back to Detroit in the playoffs. That'd be kind of fun. I'm rooting for that. Yeah. Anything else, Artis? Anything else you got stuck in your craw? I mean, you're on fire right now. I'm not as fired up as you are whatsoever. But again, it impacted your team more than it did mine. Even though you're right, it was a ripple effect throughout the entire NFC. It was absolutely wild.
Do we want to predict this game?
Do we have to?
Is there
I
any chance
guess.
that Artis and I can catch you in this season?
No, I clinched, and we didn't predict the Packer game either. I don't know what you guys thought the result would be of that, but no, I'm pretty sure I had a 3-game lead over you guys.
In the lineup, I would have picked the Vikings. Honestly, I would have picked the Vikings.
I was leaning Packers, I'll be honest with you. But I say that in hindsight, so, can't really doubt me. Yeah, let's go ahead and predict it. I don't even know the line for this game. Let me take a look. It's not going to be in favor of the Vikings, and it's not 3.5 for Detroit. The over-under is 45.5. Guys, the regular season finale for the Minnesota Vikings. Do you think that they can squeak out a W here and keep the playoff hopes alive? Or do you think they're going to lose and it'll be officially the end of the 2023 regular season?
I'll start because I kind of ruined it off the top of the show with my opening remarks on Sunday's game. I picked them to lose. The Lions, they're going to be angry after last week. They're going to want to have a little high riding momentum. I don't think they're going to maybe play their starters the entire 4 quarters, but they're going to do enough damage here in the first half, maybe 3 quarters, to where they can take their foot off the gas and then some down the stretch and kind of coast to a win in Motown. So I'm going to say the Lions, under an aggressive, neck vein popping Dan Campbell, who's going to be still grimacing after last weekend, beat the Minnesota Vikings by a score of, I'm going to say 28 to 13.
Very good. Artis?
Yeah. I also have the Detroit Lions. Again, I don't know if I could trust this Vikings defense now down the stretch. And that's the reason why I couldn't pick them to win this football game. I do agree. Maybe the Lions play their starters the whole game. Maybe they don't. I don't think it's really going to matter. I think Nick Mullins is going to get that ball up because that's what he's been doing, giving that ball up. And I think that's going to result in the L to end the season. So, yeah, I'm going with the Lions. It really just depends on how many starters actually play.
True,
but yeah. I'd say they put up 27, 30. I'd say 30 to 17.
Very good. 27-20, the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings. Like you guys, not really sure how many starters the Lions will play. I think they'll start the game with all their regular starters in and maybe do a little scoreboard watching, maybe seeing how, let's see, I'm trying to look up the scores, and because obviously the NFL doesn't release their last week of the schedule out until the end of week 17. And so I'm just trying to see who's all playing when really here. Well, okay, so they're later games. So actually the Lions, no matter what, for seeding reasons, if they want to stay ahead of the Eagles or the Cowboys, they are going to have to, play out this game because those games don't start till 3:00. So actually that probably maybe leans more towards the Lions playing their starters for the majority of the game. But still, I just don't think, even if the Vikings are playing all their starters as well and play everybody who possibly can, who is healthy, it's just not going to be enough. I don't trust any quarterback right now that we have thrown out there, whether that's Mullins, Dobbs, or Jaren Hall. I just don't trust anybody. This defense has, man, it's just really disappointing how leaky it's gotten over the last several weeks after how dominant it was. I don't know if it's a scheme issue, playing too much cover 2 or Tampa 2, or it's just a personnel thing. And the fact that injuries are starting to pile up for this team, like DJ Wanham not being there. Yeah, and, maybe we'll see a little bit of offensive fireworks in the last game of the season for Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. Nice if they could get in the end zone. But ultimately, the Lions still have something to play for. Like you guys mentioned, they're pissed about what happened last week. They're going to win 27-20 over the Vikings, and it will result in the Vikings ultimately with a, 7-10 record? Which, frankly, if that does hold true, I don't remember the last time the Vikings have been that much under 500 in quite a while, actually. Probably go back probably several years, I think. They probably haven't had a season this bad since maybe 2018 or something like that? They had one, it was the year before Kirk Cousins came in and led them to that playoff game win against the New Orleans Saints. So yeah, hope we're wrong, I guess, maybe, because we want the Vikings to stay alive in the playoff hunt. But yeah, unfortunately, none of us think that will be the case.
Quick, something to watch for this weekend. Something to watch. A historic event could possibly occur for the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. For the first time Since the team's inception, 1961, if Alexander Madison does not reach the end zone by foot in week 18, he will become the first Minnesota Viking leading rusher to not record a rushing touchdown in a season.
He doesn't have a rushing touchdown?
He had a receiving touchdown.
I'm pretty sure I knew that, but
I'm pretty sure he only has receiving touchdowns. I saw.
Yeah, no, that's right. Wow.
I mean, maybe fact check me on that one. But that was from I want to say Elias Sports Data or whatever they're called.
Unreal.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And you have guys and then you have guys like Raheem Mostert on the Dolphins, who set, I think, a team record and an individual record for most touchdowns. And I think Raheem Mostert, don't quote me on this either, I think Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins scored more touchdowns individually this season than he had in his entire career combined up to that point.
Sheesh, I think you're right.
Yeah,
AJ.
It was wild. Raheem Mostert was...
Here it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, here it is.
No touchdowns.
If Vikings running back Alexander Madison fails to record a rushing touchdown on Sunday against the Lions, it will be the first time in franchise history, established in 1961, that the leading rusher on the team has failed to score a rushing touchdown during the season. That is now also in a season with 17 games, 1-7.
Let's get him that rushing touchdown, guys. Come on, let's get him that touchdown. Come on, you can't. Come on, every running back's got to get in the end zone at least once in a season, right? Come on, let's prioritize.
Air hug him and just walk him into the end zone. I don't care.
Something, I don't know.
Get it for him.
He deserves it. But yeah, that's just kind of the name of the game for the Vikings all season long. They've been towing the line all year of playoff competitiveness and, maybe building towards next year. So we'll see what happens to the regular season finale. Speaking of towing lines, hey, Artis, was LeBron's foot on the line or not?
No, hold on. Let me actually shed some light about this. Let me shed some light about this before you weigh in, because you have to think about it. Think about it like a baseball foul line, right? If you look at it from an angle, you're going to see space, and it's hard because the 3-point line on an NBA court is curved. So the camera angle that you see, it does show that there is some space. But if you were to go to the point that would allow you to be most perpendicular to where his foot is next to, the shoe probably is over the line. Yeah. So, and because of that, because the call on the court was that it was a 2, they don't have conclusive evidence, aka they don't have the proper camera angle to properly overturn it. Even though on the screen that he's pointing at, it shows space, you can't use that because it's not the most conclusive of evidence. So although I do understand what you're probably going to say, conclusively, based on the call being 2 points on the court at the time, they can't overturn it because that's how sports work. And if it's called the other way, it doesn't get overturned to a 2. Absolutely not. So it's a matter of just how they called it originally.
I think AJ should be an NBA referee. Because first of all, you just explained that perfectly well. But now that NBA referees get on camera and explain all the fouls and everything like that, you just did that flawlessly. I think you should get some pinstripes, AJ. I don't know. I think you're missing your calling here.
My body is not suited for stripes in any fashion.
It was a 3. No, I actually agree. AJ. I do agree with what you said because it was a weird one. And I don't think it was enough evidence to reverse it to a 3. You can see the space, but it was weird because as his toe elevated, it looked like his toe was on the line. So that's I don't know. It was really close. I could see how LeBron, Laker fans, would be really upset about it. I wasn't, because I could get how that's not a 3. Mm-hmm. I'm more so looking at LeBron bro, how do you not make sure your foot is clearly behind the line? That's I mean, this is LeBron James we're talking about.
He was wide open too. He could have taken a minute to do a step back if he wanted.
Yeah. And he ran right up to it.
Because there was 3 seconds left if he wanted to.
Yeah, it was a good clean look. I think he tried to again kind of. I mean, it made sense because even though you had 3 seconds, you didn't have enough time to go dunk the ball and then try to foul, and it was best for him to do what he did. But yeah, you got to be more aware. And I mean, hey, it's LeBron, so I ain't gonna say too much to LeBron.
Right,
it's LeBron, but you do got to be a little more aware of where your feet are, man. I mean, come on now, Timberwolves got that win though, and I thought it was a pretty big win, along with some others that they got. since the last time we've recorded. Mm-hmm. I do think, though, that Thunder team, team is going to be their biggest. Well, let me not disrespect the Western Conference. Let me just say, when it comes to like young and up and coming teams, because I view the Timberwolves as a young and up and coming team that is just now starting to come into their own. Yes, they have veterans, but like their core players from Cat, to Ant, to McDaniels. I look at them all as young and up and coming players in the league. That OKC team is a team to watch because when they played OKC last, they got smoked 106-129. And that boy Shea and Chet and Dort, them guys can play. So I wanted to see more out of the Wolves in that game. That was slightly discouraging, but discouraging from the standpoint of I'm viewing this team like it is a team that has potential to go to an NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. Yep. At the very least, has potential to go to a conference finals and has potential in the upcoming seasons to really like be that team and beat in the West. And now I'm looking at OKC like, even though they're number 2 and they're still behind the Wolves, they're going to have a fight on their hands when they see that team again. But that's going to be that playoff series, because I do believe if everything keeps going the way it's going, they're going to play each other in the playoffs this year. That would be one exciting playoff series that the Taxi Squad would have to attend.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Ooh. Yeah. Right now, they're 100%. They're looking like the biggest rival. Yeah. Right. Here you go. Here you go, Phil.
I have to make a couple phone calls.
Phone calls. And Artis, I mean,
please.
Please let us go. We don't want to play face value. It's okay. But yeah, I mean, this OKC team is in your division too, Artis. You're going to play them a lot. Mm-hmm. You're going to play them a lot. So we're going to get a lot of fun matchups throughout the rest of the season between these two. And I said at the beginning of the year that I wanted Ant to take the same leap that Shea took last year. Now, Shea's taken an even bigger leap this year. I mean, this guy is going to be first team All-NBA. And I feel like he's just developed such a smooth career under everybody's noses. And then here's Oklahoma City. And a lot of that also has to do with getting a complimentary piece like Chet Holmgren. But still, this Wolves team is, still vibing with it. Sure, they lost to the Knicks. Granted, the Knicks just traded for OG Anunoby, and that was his first game. So MSG was a little bit hyped for that kind of thing. So maybe there was just an extra spark for the Knicks that afternoon, I believe they played. And they're playing the Pelicans actually right now. They're in the first quarter at Target Center as we speak. But yeah, this is another tough stretch of the schedule too. We've kind of moved past that 16 straight stretch of over 500 opponents, but we still got another tough one here with, I believe, matchups coming up against the Rockets. I know the Celtics are in there as well. I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, Dallas and Orlando too, before you finally get a break. No disrespect here by playing the Portland Trailblazers. But yeah, it was another solid week for the Works. What was that?
Disrespect them. That's fine.
Disrespect them. Sorry.
It's
you should have put better pieces around Dame throughout his entire career. I mean, come on, what are you doing? You should have drafted Kevin Durant instead of Greg Oden. What are you doing? And they also
that one was that was
really,
a tough one, though.
Really. Okay, yeah. I mean, Greg Oden was awesome.
Greg was cold.
Yeah,
he was cold in college.
And who did they draft over Michael Jordan too? Man, I'm going back. Portland's really screwed up a lot of stuff.
Ooh, that's
they drafted. I forget who it was. Well, there were 2 players drafted before Michael Jordan, but one of them was Akeem Olajuwon. So I'm not going to knock the Rockets too much for that. They won a couple titles in the 90s with Olajuwon, but only because Jordan retired. Anyway, Wolves are rolling, Ants rolling, Cats rolling. Rudy's still playing elite defense, even though that Harkenstein, I don't know his name, the Knicks center or whatever, but number 55, he kind of looks like Luke Herringody, the old Notre Dame center from back in the day. I think he played for the Knicks. He had like 4 blocks on Rudy in the Knicks game. It was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is about him, but he's the antidote to Rudy Gobert, apparently. But still, Wolves, I'm not concerned at all. I'm actually kind of encouraged because Jordan McLaughlin got a lot of play in that Knicks game, and he played really, really well. And we've been begging this team to enhance their backup point guard just role here as the season goes along, because Shake Milton's kind of been a little bit of hit or a miss kind of player. So yeah, we'll see how the Wolves do continue on the week and everything like that. Yeah, another tough stretch of the schedule, but they're handling this so far like a championship team. And, we can maybe excuse a loss here to OKC and a loss here to New York every now and then, but keep rolling, y'all. The Minnesota Wild, really quick, as we have a little bit of time left, though, are dealing with some issues. Not just
some, it's everything.
I know. That's why I wanted to bring up the World Juniors thing first with you, because I wanted to start a positive note with the hockey, and I'm glad I did, because the Minnesota Wild are cooling off a little bit in the win department, but the injuries are piling up. We've got players going on IR, specifically one of our goaltenders, Philip Gustafsson, but more importantly, Kirill Kaprizov as well. Now, I've heard reports that this may not still affect the original 1 to 2 week timeline of when Kirill could potentially come back, that this is more just an arbitrary move more than anything else. So hopefully, even though he's put on IR, Kirill Kaprizov can still come back in that original timeline. But still, this does not do any favors to the Wild, who still aren't seemingly able right now to move up in the standings and still find themselves in that 4 to 5 to 6 point range, back of the second place wild card team at the moment.
Yeah, so here's the current injured reserve of the Minnesota Wild. Jared Spurgeon, the captain. Kirill Kaprizov, highest earner on the team, bona fide superstar. Jonas Brodin, arguably the second best defenseman on the team. Now because Brock Faber has entered the chat. Philip Gustafsson, phenomenal last season after acquiring him in a trade. Number one goalie. Matt Zuccarello. A little he was as much as I want to say underwhelming, he wasn't. He's been phenomenal. I think under the radar good, just because he was putting up the points. He was averaging 0.89 points a game or something like that. He had an unbelievable stretch before he got injured. It's nobody going on IR is a small fish. Everybody that's getting hurt is an important player for the club. And what we saw the past couple of nights here, they've lost 3 straight in regulation, 2 of those to division rival Winnipeg. Last night, it was against Calgary, a 3-1 loss. Matt Boldy, Marcus Johansson, kind of the guys that are supposed to be stepping up, just aren't. They need to get the train moving. Marc-Andre Fleury played well enough to win them the game last night. It's just Jacob Markstrom on the other side, fresh off of him returning from injury. Actually, he played phenomenal. He had 2.5 goals saved above expected, so he pretty much robbed the Wild of a win, and so to speak. But at the same time, you have to say the Wild need to finish some of these chances more. They played very well in the middle frame in the first 10 or so minutes of the third period. But for a team that played Saturday and Sunday, had Monday off, and then returned on Tuesday, the final 7 minutes, especially the final 3, this team looked like they were skating in mud. They just looked dead tired. And it's not like they lost the passion to try to win. It's not like they gave up. It's just, they were just tired. They were just flat out tired. The final 3 minutes, they were trying to get offensive zones pressure set up just to get the extra attacker on, get Fleury off the ice. They couldn't set up the zone. It was some of the sloppiest passing, skating. It was slow moving. It just was not looking good. And it was probably the easiest closeout of a game I've ever seen in terms of the Flames. They just sat back, intercepted the puck. Eventually they iced it with an empty netter, but there was no point in that final 5 minutes that I had any positive feeling that they were going to tie this thing up and force it into overtime. So unfortunate, but I will spin zone this real quick with PWHL Minnesota. They kick off their first game of the season. PWHL started yesterday, but Minnesota over in Boston right now. They're currently leading 3-1. This team looks incredible. They look incredible.
How's their power play unit? Can we borrow
I think they're over on the night to my knowledge. They've had a couple chances that I've seen.
Okay.
I've kind of been watching in the background here, but they were winning 2-0 at the end of the first. It's now 5 minutes to go in the second. They gave up a goal, but then immediately Grace Zoomwinkle answered back. So it's been a pretty good showing from them so far. I didn't really plan to maybe go check them out on Saturday when they have their home opener, but I might have to now. Saturday, 2:30.
Where's their rink? What rink are they playing
at? The X, baby.
They're playing at the X.
They're playing at the X.
All right. Who's doing Let's Play Hockey? That's my next question. They got to have somebody out there. I volunteer AJ Fredrickson if nobody else has stepped up at this point.
I feel like I can't say that. No, they're hosting Montreal 2:30 on Saturday. I might go check it out. A little matinee action on a Saturday.
Yeah. Good luck to them. Fantastic. And good luck to the Wild moving forward. Hopefully they can string together a couple wins here in the next week. I don't know, AJ. Last thing for me. You and I might have to personally travel with the Wild when they go up to Winnipeg just to be bodyguards for Kirill Kaprizov. At this point, you and I can't let anybody in that town touch him. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I was just gonna ask, what's going on with him? Because last time I checked, he was healthy and he was starting to look good. He was just coming back off injury reserve, if I'm not mistaken, and now he's right back on injury reserve. Is it the same injury? Is it a different injury?
It's a different injury this time around. So the last time that they were up in Winnipeg late last season, he had a gentleman who was like 6'6" and had about 40 pounds on him. They collided. He fell on top of him, and he kind of like his body contorted in a way that messed him up bad. That had lingered from what reports have been into this season. And it looked like he was finally starting to return to his old ways. And he was like, he was on fire for like a week and a half or so. What happened on Saturday night was they get into the corner. He throws a reverse hit on Brendan Dillon, who is 6 inches taller, had about 25 pounds or so, give or take a couple. So basically Kaprizov was leading the race to the puck. He threw on the brakes after gaining possession and pretty much like backed into him, reverse hit.
Right.
Brendan Dillon did not like this whatsoever. So he went into the corner and gave 2 cheap shot cross checks to like the unpadded kidney area, like right above the breezer, right below where the protection would be. The first one didn't really phase Kirill. The second one, he went down and like you could tell was laboring. He got up, gave like a pretty vicious whack and let Dillon know, but then he skated the length of the ice trying to stay with the play. Just did not look well, went to the bench, left the ice, didn't come back, missed the next game. So now we don't really know. It's listed as an upper body injury, but who knows? It could just be a sore type of thing from getting hit around that area. It could be something rib wise. We're not really sure. That's the thing I hate about hockey.
We'll never know.
It's just upper body or lower. You never get anything more specific.
No. And I get it. When your sport is played with a literal wooden weapon, you don't want to really have those players know exactly where certain injuries are, because then they'll just hit you there all game long. And
a former Russian great, Pavel Bure, when he was with Florida, he would dish out some of the meanest two-handed whacks of all time, because he was a victim of some of the same thing, and this was like older hockey. So he was basically his own bodyguard in a sense of using his stick as a weapon, but that bought him so much space because the guys were like, I'm not going near this.
Right. I don't want to get
I'm gonna lose teeth if I get 2 steps close to him. So like Kirill, it might have to do that or carry a weapon. I don't care.
Right. Just flail that stick all around, Kirill. Just don't let anybody near you. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, because if he comes back and gets hurt again, I'm gonna be so sick. I'm sick of Winnipeg hurting the Wild superstar. Just stop it. Pick on somebody else.
Otherwise, we'll come up there. Me and AJ, we'll come up there, and I don't know. We'll fisticuffs.
I am the least threatening person of all time.
Well, but if Kirill's on the line, I hate to see what that might do to AJ Fredrickson. I don't want to. I don't want to see what that might happen there. All right, guys, we got to wrap things up here on the Taxi Squad. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here for the week?
I'm not sure those referees that
just let it go.
That's you guys know where I'm going. I'm done. That's it.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah. Let's. They don't have a team name yet because of kind of short timing. But go PWHL Minnesota. Don't fall into the trap of other Minnesota teams and let us all down. That's the only thing.
Win championships if you don't mind. We'll love you if you do. Promise. We love you anyway. All right, that'll do things for the SKOR North Taxi Squad. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. You can find us on SKORNorth.com, the SKOR North mobile app, Apple, Spotify. You want to see our lovely faces, you can check out the SKOR North YouTube channel. My name's Jason Stormer. That's Artis Woods. And that's AJ Fredrickson. We will talk to you. I mean, we can text. I don't know. I don't have your number or whatever. You can DM me or something like that. We'll talk to you next time on the SKOR North Taxi Squad. Until then, you have a wonderful week. And we'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.